Hello Netrunner fans, Willing Dunn here, and I wanted to share with you some of my thoughts and feelings about playing against the card Account Siphon. I want to talk about Account Siphon because the card has been very popular and very dominant for quite a while in the history of this game, and there's quite a bit of controversy about the card within the community. Few cards in Netrunner can cause such one-sided games as Account Siphon, but I think this will only happen to you if you don't know how to play correctly against it. So in this video, we're going to look at some tactical moves you can make against Account Siphon, and also take some deck building considerations into mind. Account Siphon is at its best in low credit situations, where it's able to deny the corporation most, if not all, of their economy, while simultaneously providing large burst economy for the runner. Siphon decks are going to either easily deal with the tags or ignore them completely, and either way the drawback of gaining 2 tags is usually mitigated easily. Combine this with easy and available recursion for Account Siphon, and it's a type of deck in and of itself. First, we're going to look at a few general tactical moves you can make against Account Siphon, kind of irrespective of what deck you're playing. And then we're going to look at a few ways that you can build your deck keeping Account Siphon in mind. The first tip I have is to have something in play that you can spend credits on if you get Account Siphoned. An example of this would be an HB deck that plays Adonis campaign, and it can suddenly spend 4 credits if it gets Account Siphoned. Taking a look at our handy-dandy timing structure of a run chart, we're going to look at step 4, where the runner approaches the attack server. Account Siphon triggers at 4.5 after the run is considered successful and where the runner has the opportunity to access cards. But if we look at 4.3, before this, we have the opportunity to res non-ice cards. This means that we can spend credits that would have been siphoned on assets or upgrades in any server. Keep in mind that since Account Siphon says you may use its ability, the runner can choose to do a normal access if you spend all of your credits. My next tip is to res your HQ ice only when it's needed. And to show what I'm talking about with this, we're going to look at a game that I recently played in which I made a very poor decision to res a piece of ice on HQ at the wrong time. The example we're going to look at was Jinteki Personal Evolution against Ken Express Tenma, a deck that certainly plays Account Siphon given that he gets a bonus credit for playing it, and it's in faction. So knowing that I've played Himitsu Bako in front of HQ, a nice end-the-run piece of ice that'll force him to get a breaker if he plays Account Siphon. On his first click, he runs HQ, and I'm worried about this Gilahan's Arcology in my hand, when I should be focused on Siphon. So I res the Bako. Think about what you would have done in this situation. I maintain that resing the Bako was the incorrect play. Sure, it'd be great to score the Gilahan's Arcology, but we have no other threats in HQ. While it might seem like a risk to give him a 25% chance at the Gilahan's, it's actually a bigger risk to show off the piece of ice in front of HQ so early. My opponent simply used Special Order to get an Icebreaker, played the Icebreaker, and then used his last click to Account Siphon me. My last point is that Siphon is not just a threat in the early game, but is a threat in the mid and late game as well. To show what I'm talking about, we're going to look at another example. In this example, we're looking at NBN making news against a criminal opponent. We're entering the mid-game, where I have a res wraparound, and he has no way to break it, or any other icebreakers for that matter. I've been trying to set up a scoring remote with this Toll Booth and Eli 1.0, but I have neither of them resed. I have 13 credits, and my opponent only has 3, and I have an NAPD contract in my hand. I'm considering trying to score the NAPD contract. Is this a good move? Against an unknown criminal opponent, I would say that it's a pretty risky move trying to score the contract. If we look at a simple sequence of plays that he could make involving Account Siphon, we can see that the agenda is not anywhere near as safe as it may seem. Imagine my opponent has an Account Siphon and an inside job and has been trying to set up for a play involving these. If he's able to get through with the Account Siphon, such as playing a Corroder or searching for some sort of Icebreaker, we're going to be in big trouble here. He's going to not only score the NAPD contract, but he's going to actually be up money in the deal. The big takeaway here is that good criminal players are going to combine Account Siphon with other good cards in their hand. They're not going to just siphon you and then think, oh, what should I do with all this money? And for that reason, it was far too ambitious to try to set up this scoring remote. I would have been a lot better off using one of those pieces of ice on HQ to defend against Siphon. In this last section, we're going to talk about things you can do during the deck building process that will make your deck more resilient against Account Siphon. I'm sure you've heard the adage, it takes money to make money, and that's true both in the real world as well as in Netrunner. Most of the best Corp economy cards cost a moderate number of credits to initially play. Hedge Fund, for example, costs 5 credits to play. And if you've just been Account Siphon, you're probably not going to have 5 credits. So that's why I'd recommend playing some of these bounce back economy cards. What I mean by this are economy cards that have low play costs that allow you to get into the 3 to 4 credit range easily. Good examples are Beanstalk Royalties, Green Level Clearance, and to a certain extent Gilahan's Arcology. These cards can help you get to the credit range you need to play your real economy cards such as Hedge Fund. This next point has immense implication on deck building, so I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it, but generally the point is that you want to play more low-cost ice in your deck than high-cost ice. The reason for this is that early in the game you're going to need to draw and be able to res ice, and if you play too many expensive pieces of ice, you're not going to be able to res them early in the game and defend against things like Account Siphon. This last point is kind of obvious, but I think it's still worth mentioning. Since Account Siphon's only real drawback is that they get 2 tags when they play it, playing cards that punish them for having tags is really good against Account Siphon. The best example of this is Closed Accounts. Account Siphon is really only a fantastic deal if the tags are completely irrelevant. If the runner can just take the tags and not care about them. But if you have cards like Closed Accounts or Scorched Earth or something like that in your deck, you're going to force the runner to respect that they have tags, and Account Siphon becomes less of a good deal.